Good morning all, I am Simran Kaur, your science teacher from Shiv Jyoti Educational Group. I hope you have watched all videos which have been uploaded till now. So it's time to revise all those chapters. Today we'll start revision of chapter 1 and 2. Before we move ahead, get your science book, grab your pencil and open chapter 1, crop production and management on page number 7 in your science success book. So what we studied so far in this chapter, we studied about crops, that we need food to survive, okay. So we started growing plants. So that cultivation of plant is known as agriculture, and the plants present on the large scale, large field are known as crops. Then we discussed basic practices of crop production. We follow few steps before producing crops. Do you remember all those practices? Let me remind you. First step was preparation of soil. Okay, we do not sow seeds directly into the soil. First we prepare our soil. Then second practice is we sow seeds in the soil. Selection and sowing of seeds. Then after sowing comes irrigation. We give water to the crops at different interval. Then after irrigation, which step? Weeding, removal of undesired plants, unwanted plants. Then after weeding comes crop protection. We need to protect our crops from stray animals as they damage our crops. Then after crop protection comes, this is E, crop protection. Then after crop protection comes harvesting. When our crops get ready, when they get mature, we cut them, that is known as harvesting. And at last, storage. We store our crops so that we can use it throughout the year. So these are 7 basic practices which we follow while producing crops. Then next topic was crop rotation. Rotation of crops on the same piece of land. If we will grow similar crop over the years on the same piece of land, then that land will get deficient in particular nutrients, and to avoid that situation we follow this crop rotation. The next topic we discussed was mixed cultivation. In this we grow similar types, dissimilar types means different crops on the same land. Then not only from plants, we obtain our food from animals also. So in that topic, food from animals, we discussed animal husbandry, in which we raise animals to obtain their products like eggs, milk, meat. Now here are few points which need to be remembered. These are important points. Crop is the same type of plants being cultivated at one place on a large scale, like crop of wheat. We grow it on the large field. Then green revolution, the dramatic increase in agricultural productivity due to use of improved variety of seeds. In green revolution, there is increase in production of our crops. And why there is increase in production of crops? Because in that we are using hybrid seeds. We are using improved variety of seeds, which gives us a greater amount of crops. Next, crop production, crop rotation. The practice of growing 2 or more dissimilar crops on the same patch of land alternatively. If we are, suppose this is 2020, if we are growing one crop in this year, then on the next year, like in 2021, we will grow different crop. Then mixed cultivation, the practice of growing 2 or more different types of crops in a particular field at the same time. In mixed cultivation, mixed means mixed crops. Okay, we are growing different crops on the same land. So now you will say that, ma'am, in crop rotation, we were using different crops. But in mixed, we are growing 2 or more crops on the same land, because two or more crops, they need different nutrients, and those nutrients get replenished from each other. One crop is providing nutrients to the other crop, and that other crop is providing nutrient to the first crop. Internal questions. Okay, now you have to write it down in your science book. I have mentioned page number also. So on page number 8 you have to write this question. Give 2 examples of each of Rabi crops and Kharif crops. Before giving examples, let's discuss in briefly that what are Rabi and Kharif crops. Look, we have different climatic conditions. So depending on those climatic conditions, we follow 2 types of cropping patterns, and those are, first pattern is Rabi crops and the other is Kharif crops. These Rabi crops are grown in winter season, whereas Kharif crops are grown in rainy season, because these crops need plenty of water. Then Rabi crops, we plant these crops in the month of October and we harvest these crops at the month of April. Whereas Kharif crops, these crops are planted in the month of June and we harvest this crop in the month of September. So, got it? Rabi and Kharif crops. Now you have to give examples. Example of Rabi crops are wheat, barley, whereas example of Kharif crops, sugarcane, paddy, maize. There are so many examples, so you have to note this down. Now question number 1, write and describe the various steps involved in preparation of soil. The first basic practice is preparation of soil. Under this practice, we have 3 sub-steps: ploughing, leveling and adding manures and fertilizers. So in ploughing, what we do, this is the process of loosening and turning of soil. It is done by plough, hoe or cultivator. So what is the advantage of this step of ploughing? It makes our soil porous, which promotes the growth of microbes and microorganisms. They increase the humus content in the soil. So this is advantage of ploughing. Then second, leveling. It is done to make the surface of the soil uniform after the process of ploughing. You know that after ploughing we get uneven surface. So to make it uniform, this step is done. And it is done with the help of a wooden or iron leveler. Then after leveling comes adding manures and fertilizers. These manures and fertilizers are used to increase the fertility of soil. So they are added to the soil for healthy growth of a plant. Now what is the difference between manure and fertilizer? Manures are organic substances, whereas fertilizers are chemical substances. Okay, now this is organics, so it must have advantages over fertilizer. So let's have a look. What are those advantages if we are using manure? First advantage is that manures, it increases the water holding capacity. Remember this. By using manure, we are increasing the water holding capacity of soil. Another advantage is it makes the soil rich in humus. It makes the soil rich in humus content. Okay, another internal question which you have to write on page number 10. Write any 2 examples of fertilizers, potash and urea. Okay, fertilizer give us particular nutrient. We use fertilizers to provide particular nutrient to the soil. Second question, define sowing and describe any two methods adopted for sowing seeds. Sowing is the process of putting the seeds in the soil. If you remember, then we discussed that when we put seeds in the soil or when we sow seeds, it should be done at right distance and right depth for the proper growth of plant. So what are the methods of sowing seeds? First is broadcasting. Scattering of seeds randomly in the field is known as broadcasting, like this man is scattering seeds randomly in the field. Another method is transplantation. Seeds of rice and some other plants cannot be sown directly into the field because they require large amount of water. So their seeds are first grown in the nursery beds and then transplanted to the field by hand. Like these people are doing what? These are transplanting the crop of paddy. Another question, describe the process of drip and sprinkler irrigation. Irrigation is what? Giving water to crops at different time. So the supply of water to crops at different intervals is called irrigation. If you remember, we discussed two types. First was traditional methods in which we look about Rahat system, Dhekli system, Mode system, and modern methods in which we discussed drip irrigation. Drip irrigation, in this system water drips drop by drop at the position of plant roots and hence water is not wasted. In this method we are providing water directly to the tip of the root of plant. Another was sprinkler system. In this system, water with the help of perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles at the top is sprayed on the standing crops. This is rotating nozzles and these are perpendicular pipes through which we are supplying water to our crops, and this is also known as artificial rainfall. Another is, what is furrow irrigation? Again, under modern method we use this type of irrigation, furrow irrigation. In this, the field is divided into ridges and furrows. Plants are grown on the ridges and water flows in the furrows through a pump. You can see this is ridge and this is furrow where water is flowing. Okay, we know that plant need water for proper growth. But what if we provide water in excess? Here a term comes, water logging. If we will provide water in excess to our plants, then that water will accumulate around the plant, and it will. And if you know that, let's say these are soil particles. If we are providing water in excess, then what will happen? These spaces will get filled by water. Okay, all the spaces present between soil particles, it will get filled by water. So there will be no space left for air. So water logging will decrease the aeration. Water logging will decrease the aeration. Means there will be less air in between the soil particles, which will affect the growth of plant, and water logging, it will increase the amount of salts in the soil, because we know that water contains salts. So excess water will give extra salts to the soil. So this is water logging, when we provide water in excess to our crops. Understood? Then next, what are the different methods of weeding? Now before answering this, do you know what is weeding? What are weeds? We know that few crops grow along with our main crop. So those unwanted plants are known as weeds, and removal of those unwanted plants is known as weeding. So the different methods of weeding are, we can remove those extra unwanted plants by tilling, by manual method, or by using chemicals. Another internal question which you have to write it on page number 15. What are weedicides? Weeds can be controlled by using certain chemicals called weedicides like 2,4-D, metachlor, MCPA and etc. There are so many examples of weedicides. So, weedicides are chemicals which are used to control the growth of weeds, growth of unwanted plants. Next, what is crop protection and what are the methods of crop protection? You know that we need to protect our crops from whom? From stray animals, from birds, pests, insects, because they damages our crops. So, crop protection means to ensure a good yield by protecting the crops from stray animals, birds and pests. So, how can we protect our crops? By fencing off the field, by making a boundary on our field so that these stray animals will not enter our agricultural field. Then using a scarecrow and beating drum to protect the crops from birds, as these scarecrow and the sounds, the sound which come by beating drums, these things scare the birds. Then treating the seeds with fungicide. Fungicides are again chemical substances which are used to kill the growth of microorganisms like fungi. Next question, explain the process of threshing and winnowing. You know that after crop protection comes harvesting, means we need to cut our mature crops, that is harvesting. So, under harvesting we have two you can say methods, threshing and winnowing. In threshing, it is the process of removal of the grains from the straw. The stem is cut into small pieces and stored as hay. It is the process of beating cereal plants in order to separate the grains from the straw. The crops which we get after harvesting, what we do? We beat them on the hard surface, so that after beating we get the grains out of the straw. So, this is how we are separating grains and straw. The next step is winnowing. Now, the grain which we get from this step is not the pure thing. It is a mixture of grain and chaff. So, we need to separate our grain from chaff too. So, winnowing, it is the process of removing the chaff from the grains by blowing air. Okay, in this we take help of the wind. The chaff being lighter is blown away by the wind. If you remember, in this step we throw that mixture, the mixture of grain and chaff from some height. So, as it comes down, as it falls down, the chaff which is lighter in weight, it is taken away by the wind and we get the grains which are heavier. The grains or seeds which are being heavier fall down to the ground. Then why do we need to store food? Okay, we grow crops in large amount, but we cannot consume our crops in one day, in a single day. No, we have to store it so that we can use it the whole year. So, we need to store our food because first it reduces food wastage, because we know that our food, it is vulnerable to microorganisms. It can get spoiled by microorganisms because they are present everywhere in the air, and it ensures food availability in distant places and during off season. Got it? Okay, can you name some containers which we use to store our food? If you remember, we discussed silos and granaries to store our food. Another internal question on page number 18, define animal husbandry. To obtain products from animals, it is not like that if we saw any animal, then we will pick it and we will make use of that animal. We do not do like that. So, we raise those animals. If we want to obtain food from them, we raise them. So, the practice of breeding and raising livestock is known as animal husbandry. So, let us have a look on all those basic practices in the form of chart. First step was preparation of soil, in which we discussed 3 steps: plowing, leveling and using manures and fertilizers. Then after preparing comes selection and sowing of seeds. We select good quality seeds and then we sow them with which method? By broadcasting and by using seed drills. Then after sowing comes irrigation. We supply water to our crops. We use two types of method, traditional methods and modern methods. Then after irrigation comes weeding, removal of unwanted plants. How we can remove them? By tilling, by manual method and by using chemicals. Then after weeding comes crop protection, protection of our crops by using chemicals like fungicides and using scarecrow or beating drums. Then after protecting our crops comes harvesting, means cutting off crops when they get matured. By after harvesting comes two steps, threshing and winnowing. Then after harvesting comes storage of our crops, storage of our grains. We can store our grains at small level in jute bags and at large, for large scale we use silos and granaries. So that was all about chapter 1. Now it's time to revise chapter 2, microorganisms, friend or foe. So open page number 23 in your books. Now page number may vary depending on the edition of your book. What we studied so far, microorganisms, like we have seen so many plants, animals, human beings, but except these living organisms, there are few small organisms which we cannot see directly with our naked eyes. We need to use a special instrument like microscope to observe them. So those tiny minute organisms are known as microorganisms. So we have divided microorganisms into 5 groups. These are microorganisms. First group is virus. Second, bacteria. Third, fungi. Fourth, algae. And fifth is protozoa. So what are the 5 groups? Virus, bacteria, fungi, algae and protozoa. Then we discussed about communicable diseases, the diseases which can spread from one person to another, from infected person to a healthy person. Like this COVID-19, it is communicable disease. It can spread from one person to another. Next was food preservation. In this topic, we discussed what? We discussed few methods by which we can preserve our food and we can use that food for longer time. And at last we studied nitrogen cycle. Like we discussed water cycle, that is circulation of water in the atmosphere. So in nitrogen cycle, it is circulation of nitrogen in our atmosphere. Now these are few points which need to be remembered. Viruses can be both living and non-living. Okay, if they are present inside the host body, then they will act as a living being. Then, if they are present out of the host body, then they will be non-living. Bacteriophage, there are few viruses which are able to infect bacteria. Not only human beings, but few viruses are able to infect bacteria. So those viruses are known as bacteriophage. Then fungi are plant-like organisms but lack chlorophyll. These fungi, they are plant-like, means they have cell wall and they have similarities like plant, but they do not have chlorophyll. And if you remembered, chlorophyll is one of the necessary condition for photosynthesis. So fungi are not able to produce their own food. They do not perform photosynthesis because they do not have chlorophyll. Then algae are popularly known as seaweeds. These algae are, again, they are very simple plant-like organism, and these algae have chlorophyll. So they are autotrophs, means they are able to produce their own food because they have chlorophyll and they will perform photosynthesis, and they are known as seaweeds. Protozoa are unicellular organisms having animal-like characteristics. Then pasteurization is a method of preserving milk. The milk is heated to about 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilled and stored. Like when we heat our milk to about 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds, we are killing the microorganisms which are present in our milk and which may spoil our milk. So by killing those microorganisms, we are preserving our milk, and that method is known as pasteurization. So here comes question number 1. How do microorganisms help us in cleaning the environment? Microbes like bacteria and fungi perform decomposition of dead plants and animals, hence keep the environment clean. Means these microbes like bacteria and fungi, they break dead plants and animals into smaller pieces, and those small particles of these dead plants and animals, they get mixed with the soil, and hence ultimately they are increasing the humus content of soil. Internal question on page number 24, you have to write it. Where are the viruses found? So before answering this question, let's discuss in brief that what are viruses. Virus, coronavirus, you have heard of it. So virus is a microorganisms and their size is even smaller than bacteria. This is C. Okay, the size of bacteria is even small than, the size of virus is small than bacteria. Where are the viruses found? They are found in air, water, soil and living organisms. You have to mark this answer in your book. Then another internal question which you have to write on page number 25. Name the different shapes of bacteria. Before answering that question, let's have a look on what is bacteria. Bacteria, again another group of microorganisms, and this bacteria, they are unicellular. Okay, they are unicellular means they have one cell in their body, and from there where they derive their nutrition, they are heterotrophs. Bacteria, they are dependent on others. Either they will be saprophytic, saprophytes, or they will be parasitic. Got it? So name the different shapes of bacteria. They are available in all these shapes: spherical shape like this, rod shaped, spiral shaped and comma shaped. Another internal question: which bacteria resides in human intestine? The name of that bacteria is Escherichia coli. So write this question on page number 26. Pause this video and write it down. Now give reason why yeast is used in bakeries and in breweries. Yeast is another organism. Now what is yeast? Yeast is an example of fungi. The third group which we discussed under microorganism. Fungi, they are plant-like organism, but they lack what? They lack chlorophyll. They lack what? They lack chlorophyll. And they do not have chlorophyll, so they are not able to perform photosynthesis. So they are heterotrophs. They are dependent on others to get their food. So yeast is an example of fungi. Yeast is unicellular organism. It contains only one cell in their body. So in bakeries, during fermentation, or we can say during anaerobic respiration, yeast converts glucose into alcohol and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide released causes the dough to rise, which makes the bread light, soft and spongy. Okay, like can you give any bakery item, example of bakery item like breads, cupcakes? In that we use yeast. Then in breweries, it is also used for the commercial production of alcohol and wine, because during anaerobic respiration they release what? Alcohol. So that's why they are used in this industry. Barley, wheat, rice and crushed fruit juices are fermented to obtain alcohol and wine. Now what are communicable diseases and how are they spread? Diseases which can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food or physical contact are called communicable diseases. They can transfer from one person to another. How it can spread? The communicable diseases can spread in the following ways, like first by breathing air containing microorganisms, through insect bites, by physical contact with an infected person. If you are shaking hands, if you are hugging, then it will spread from that infected person to your body. Now what measures must be taken to reduce the incidence of malaria and dengue? Malaria and dengue, these are two diseases. So let's discuss who is the carrier of these diseases. Malaria. The carrier of malaria is Anopheles mosquito. And carrier for dengue is Aedes mosquito. Just remember these two names, carrier of malaria and dengue. For malaria it is Anopheles mosquito and for dengue it is Aedes mosquitoes. So following measures must be taken to reduce the incidence of malaria and dengue. First is by destroying the breeding places of mosquitoes, so they will not develop there. Use mosquito repellents, like so many creams are available in the market. By using those repellents we can avoid. By wearing long sleeve shirts and long pants, by doing this we are avoiding the direct contact of our skin with these mosquitoes. And by using mosquito net, with the help of this net they will not be able to enter this mosquito net. Now how does a vaccine work? This topic is very important. Nowadays we are seeking for vaccination for COVID-19 disease. So what is vaccine and what is vaccination? Let's see through a picture. Let's say this is any virus. This is any organism, microorganism, microbe, and it is trying to enter your body. This is human being. This microbe is trying to enter your body and so this is your body. So what will you do? What will your body do? It will fight with this microbe. This is microbe. So your body will fight this with this microbe. So how will our body fight? By using machine guns or any weapons? No, by producing antibodies. When our body produce this antibodies. So this antibodies will remain in our blood, it will stay there only, and it will protect us from the future infection given by this microbe. So it will stay in our bloodstream only. So okay, this is what happens when microbes try to enter our body. So in vaccine or in vaccination, what we do, we deliberately inject weak or dead microbes in our body. We are deliberately injecting these weak and dead microbes in our body. As we will inject them in our body will automatically produce antibodies against these microbes. So this is known as vaccine. This is known as vaccine, these weak or dead microbes, and this complete process is known as vaccination. I hope you understood what is vaccine and what is vaccination. So let's read out this answer. Vaccines contain dead or weakened microbes of a particular disease. When a vaccine is introduced into a healthy body, the body fights and kills them by producing suitable antibodies. If you have heard of vaccine for chickenpox, vaccine for polio, these antibodies remain in the body and protect it when the microbe enters the body again. Next question, list the various methods used for food preservation. Various methods of food preservation are: first is canning. Cooked and sterilized food is canned in airtight containers. What is the meaning of sterilized or sterilization? In this process, we kill microorganisms. By preservation by using common salts, this is traditional method, traditional technique, or preservation by sugars. How? Sugar reduces the moisture content and inhibits the growth of microorganisms. As we know that the moisture, it is very suitable for the growth of microorganisms. Then preservation by using oil and vinegar. Oil and vinegar make the environment inhabitable for bacteria, means these bacteria cannot grow in this environment where we have added oil and vinegar. Then pasteurization, like we discussed in the previous slide, the milk is heated to about 70 degrees Celsius, we see is missing here, for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilled and stored. Another internal question which you have to write on page number 31, name any one chemical preservative. Answer is sodium benzoate. Another important question, write a short note on nitrogen fixation. We know that nitrogen gas is present everywhere in our atmosphere, and nitrogen is required by plant for their growth, but plants cannot use that nitrogen gas directly. So first, conversion of nitrogen gas is done into the form of nitrogenous compounds. So that conversion of free atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compound is known as nitrogen fixation. This conversion is known as nitrogen fixation. Let's read out the answer. Free nitrogen in the atmosphere cannot be utilized by plants and animals. It has to be first converted into usable forms. This process of conversion of free atmospheric nitrogen into useful nitrogen compounds is called nitrogen fixation. Now, what are the various steps of nitrogen cycle? Okay, I told you that nitrogen cycle is what? Circulation of nitrogen in the atmosphere. So, how that circulation takes place? By some following few steps. First is nitrogen fixation, like in previous question we discussed, conversion of free nitrogen into nitrogen compounds. Now, with the help of whom does this conversion takes place? We have some nitrogen fixing bacteria like rhizobium, blue-green algae and lightning in the sky. They fix nitrogen gas and convert it into compounds of nitrogen which goes into the soil. Then absorption of nitrates by plants. Now, from first step we got nitrogen compounds and it got mixed with the soil. Now, it's time to absorb those nitrogen compounds. So in this step, the plants absorb the nitrogen compounds through roots and convert it into plant proteins and other organic compounds. Then those plants are eaten by animals as food. We know that animals eat plants directly. Then next step is ammonification. Protein from dead animals and plants are converted into ammonia by ammonifying bacteria. Like we are getting protein directly from the body of plants, and how from animals? Because these animals have eaten plants. So this is how we are getting ammonia. So that ammonia is converted into, that protein is converted into ammonia by ammonifying bacteria. Then after this comes nitrification. Ammonia so formed is converted into nitrites and nitrates by nitrifying bacteria. Then denitrification is just completely opposite of this step. In this, these nitrates are converted into free nitrogen by denitrifying bacteria. They convert nitrates into nitrogen gas. It will be easier through this cycle. This is nitrogen in air. The percentage is 78. With the help of this nitrogen fixing bacteria and blue-green algae, with the help of lightning, with the use of fertilizers, we are converting this nitrogen into nitrogen compounds which are getting mixed in the soil. So here compounds of nitrogen in soil. Now this is absorbed by the roots of plants. Here it is uptake by plants' roots, and these plants are eaten by animals. So when these plants and animals die, their nitrogenous waste from excretion, and that we get nitrogenous waste from their excreta and their dead bodies. Again it is getting mixed with the soil. Now from soil, with the help of denitrifying bacteria, that bacteria convert compounds of nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen, which is again liberated in our atmosphere, and we got nitrogen in air. So this cycle goes on. This is nitrogen cycle. So that was all about chapter 2. I hope you understood the chapter 1 and chapter 2. Thank you.